Assalamu alaikum to all my Muslim brothers and sisters. Namaste to our Hindu viewers. Sat Sri Akal to our Sikh family. Jai Janendra to our Jain brothers and sisters. Budhem Sharanam Gakami to all our Buddhist viewers. Shalom to our Jewish community. Peace be upon you to our Christian family. Aloha to our Hawaiian friends. Konnichiwa to our Japanese viewers. And I-hao to our Chinese audience. Globe showing Americas, no matter where you're from or what faith you follow, this story is for you. Because emotions, love, struggle, and hope have no borders. Sparkling heart. Backhand index pointing right, so before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon bell, so you never miss another story that touches your heart. It was the kind of winter morning that cut through you, not just with cold, but with loneliness. Brooklyn's sidewalks were slick with frost, and everyone hurried past each other like ghosts. No one had time to care. Except her. Emily Carter, 24, wrapped in a worn-out hoodie and second-hand jeans, pushed her cart full of empty soda cans toward the recycling center. She didn't have a job. Not a real one. Not since her mom got sick, and Emily had to drop out of community college to take care of her. Now every dollar mattered. Every can, every bottle, hope wrapped in aluminum. As she turned onto Bedford Avenue, she saw a man lying on the sidewalk. Mid-40s. Soaked. Shivering. One shoe missing. People walked by like he was invisible. Couple even stepped over him. Emily stopped. Sir? Hey, are you okay? He barely lifted his head. Lips blue. Eyes bloodshot. He was in a suit, but it was torn, stained, and oddly expensive looking beneath the grime. Emily dropped to her knees, shaking. She didn't know if he was homeless, high, or just in trouble. But she couldn't walk past him. Not like the others. She took off her hoodie and wrapped it around him. Don't move. I'm calling someone. No, he whispered. No hospitals. But you need help, she said. I just need a minute. She pulled a granola bar from her bag and opened it. Eat this. Please. His hands trembled as he took it. As he ate slowly, Emily noticed something strange. An elegant watch on his wrist, scratched but clearly expensive. Why would a homeless man wear something like that? Who are you? She asked gently. He just gave a weak smile. Nobody important. She didn't press. She stayed beside him for 20 minutes, shielding him from the wind with her body until he could stand again. When he finally got up, he took her hand, looked into her eyes, and said, You have no idea what you've just done. She blinked. I just couldn't leave you there. The man smiled faintly, then slowly walked away. No name. No thanks. Just vanished into the crowd. Emily stood frozen. Confused. Something about him haunted her. She had no clue that she had just saved a man who owned half of Manhattan real estate, a man whose photo was regularly featured on Forbes, but who had disappeared from the public eye 2 weeks ago after a private plane crash. And that act of kindness? It was about to change her life forever. Emily didn't expect miracles. And not in her world. After the man disappeared into the cold city streets, she gathered her cart and kept walking. She still had cans to cash in. Rent was due in 3 days, and her landlord, Mr. Halpern, had already threatened eviction twice. She reached the recycling center by noon, handed over her collected cans, and got a crumpled $8.40 in return. It wasn't even enough for groceries. She walked home slowly, crossing the same broken sidewalks, passing the same closed shops and chain-link fences. Life in this part of Brooklyn hadn't been easy since her mom fell sick. What used to be a 2-income apartment was now a place of silence, medicine bottles, and unpaid bills. As she unlocked the door of their rundown studio, her mother coughed from inside. Her voice was weak. Yeah, it's me. Emily slipped in, forcing a smile. I brought soup. You didn't have to, sweetheart. I know we can't afford much. Emily sat beside her mother, carefully pulling a blanket up to her chest. We can always afford soup. Her mother was only 50, but the years of working 2 jobs and now battling lupus had aged her. Emily had become the parent in the home. She worked odd jobs when she could, recycled cans when she couldn't, and did her best to keep them afloat. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the man she had helped. There was something in his eyes. Sadness. Depth. Power. Who was he? The next morning, she visited the small diner across the street to ask about a dishwasher job. They told her the position had been filled. Again. By noon, she was back on the streets looking for anything to bring in money. She even offered to clean the sidewalk in front of a convenience store just for a few dollars. At 3:20 p.m., she returned home to find a white envelope slipped under the door. There was no name. Just for the girl in the gray hoodie. She froze. Inside was a folded note and a crisp $100 bill. You didn't know who I was. You helped me anyway. Let this be the first drop in the ocean. Her hands trembled. Who could have written this? The man? No name. No number. Just that strange message. She didn't tell her mom. Instead, she used the money to finally buy real groceries, milk, bread, fresh fruit. She cooked dinner that night with a warmth she hadn't felt in years. But something shifted inside her. Quiet hope. The next day, another envelope arrived. This time, it had no money. Just a piece of paper with one word typed in the center. Soon. She started looking over her shoulder when walking down the street. Her mom noticed the nervousness, but Emily brushed it off. A week passed. No more notes. No sign of the man. Until one day, while cleaning out the stairwell of their apartment building to earn $20 from the super, Emily heard the front door buzz. It was a delivery man. Package for Emily Carter, he said. But I didn't order anything. He handed her a white box. No sender listed. Inside it was a prepaid phone. Brand new. Turned on automatically, and a single message appeared on the screen. You believed in kindness when the world didn't. Meet me Friday at 2 p.m. Grand Central Terminal. Track 28. Emily's breath caught in her throat. This was no prank. No game. It was him. She didn't know whether to be afraid or excited. But she did know one thing. Her life was no longer ordinary. Friday came too fast. Emily hadn't told anyone, not even her mom, about the note, the phone, or the meeting. Something told her this was bigger than anything she'd ever experienced. And if she told someone, it might disappear. She arrived at Grand Central Terminal just after 1:45 p.m. Crowd bustled around her, tourists, businessmen, commuters, but she felt like time had slowed. Track 28. She followed the signs down the corridor, each step pounding louder in her ears. Her palms were sweaty. Her heart raced. At exactly 2 p.m. she reached the edge of the platform, and there he was, standing alone near the pillar. No longer the broken, freezing man she remembered. He was clean-shaven, wearing a tailored dark coat over a crisp gray suit. Polished shoes. Calm posture. Same eyes. Same quiet intensity. He turned as she approached and gave a small, almost shy smile. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. Emily swallowed. You really are the same guy. I am, he replied. Though I was a different version of myself that day. There was silence between them. Not awkward. Just heavy with questions. Who are you? She asked finally. He extended his hand. Daniel Cross. Her breath caught. She'd heard that name before. Daniel Cross, real estate mogul, tech investor, and co-founder of Cross Atlantic Holdings. His disappearance had made headlines 2 weeks ago. Private jet lost over Lake Erie. Presumed dead. "You're him," she said slowly. He nodded. "I went off the grid. Needed to. I was done with the world. I was done with everything. But why were you on the street like that? You looked lost," he interrupted gently. I'd given up. I didn't care if I froze that night. No one knew where I was, and that was the point." Emily stared at him, still trying to match the image of the man on the ground to this polished figure. "And then you stopped," he said, his voice softening. "You, a complete stranger, offered me the only warmth I'd felt in years. Not because of who I was, but because of who you are." Emily blushed, unsure what to say. "Anyone would have helped." "No," he said, shaking his head. "No, they wouldn't have. I watched dozens of people pass me. Some laughed. Some looked away. You were the only one who saw me as a person." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a velvet box. He handed it to her. Inside was a thin silver bracelet engraved with a date, 12/14, the day they'd met. "I want you to remember that day too," he said. "Because it reminded me that even when you have everything, you can still feel like nothing. And sometimes someone with nothing can give you everything." Emily was speechless. "I'm not here to make you uncomfortable," he added. "I'm not here to owe you anything. But I would like to see you again. Just as two people who met under strange circumstances." She studied him. His face was genuine. His tone was honest. There was no arrogance in his voice. No hint of manipulation. Just quiet gratitude and something deeper. I'd like that," she said softly. His eyes lit up just a little. "I'll send a car," he said, stepping back with a gentle smile. "Tomorrow. Lunch? Just us. No press. No assistance." She nodded. But as he walked away, blending back into the crowd of suits and briefcases, she couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was happening, that this wasn't just about kindness or attraction or gratitude. It felt like the beginning of something life-altering. And she had no idea just how deep this man's secrets went. The next day, exactly at noon, a sleek black Bentley Flying Spur pulled up outside Emily's building. She stood on the front steps, her coat zipped high, nerves bundled tighter than the scarf around her neck. The driver stepped out, dressed in a suit. "Miss Carter." She nodded, still half convinced this was all a dream. The inside of the car was quiet, warm, and smelled faintly of leather and citrus. The city passed in a blur until they stopped in front of a quiet, exclusive restaurant tucked between glass towers near Central Park. She was led through a private entrance down a short hallway, and there he was, Daniel Cross, waiting at a window table, smiling as if he'd been waiting years to see her again. "You look beautiful," he said simply. Emily smiled, a little shyly. "You look less frozen." He laughed genuinely. The waiter brought lunch, lobster bisque, grilled sea bass, fresh-baked focaccia, and poured a glass of sparkling water for each of them. It was all elegant, quiet. But what struck Emily most wasn't the luxury, it was how normal Daniel tried to be. No name-dropping. No showing off. No arrogance. Just stories. He told her about his childhood. Growing up in Pittsburgh. His mother raising him alone after his father left. The first computer he ever built at 13. How he got into Columbia on a scholarship. How he built his first startup in a dorm room with a friend who later betrayed him. She listened, fully drawn in. "So, why did you walk away from it all?" she asked finally. His gaze drifted toward the window. Because money makes you forget who you are. And the people around you stop seeing you as human. You become a brand. A wallet. A headline. He paused. And sometimes you have to lose everything to remember what matters. Emily nodded slowly. But you didn't lose everything. Daniel looked at her. Didn't I? I had a fiancé. Left me the moment my plane disappeared. Board members turned on me. Lawyers vultured everything they could. I saw their true faces in the silence. He looked down at his hands. But then you, a girl with nothing to gain, gave me her warmth, her food, her time, no camera, no ask, just kindness. His voice cracked slightly. Emily, you saved my life. She didn't know what to say. Felt too big to accept, like being thanked for stopping a storm. I didn't do anything. You did everything, he interrupted gently. Then he pulled out a manila envelope. I want to offer you something. Emily blinked. What is it? An opportunity. Nothing you're obligated to accept. She opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a letterhead with Cross Atlantic Foundation and a single offer. Full scholarship to NYU for any program of your choice. Monthly stipend $2,000. Housing assistance included. She looked up, stunned. You said you dropped out for your mom, he said. I checked. You had great grades. I can't buy your kindness, but I can give you the life you deserve. Tears welled in her eyes. She hadn't cried in front of anyone in years. I don't know what to say. Just say yes, he whispered. And she did. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. Emily started classes again. Daniel arranged housing closer to campus. Her mom was moved into a better clinic with proper care. Emily kept in touch with Daniel, occasionally meeting for coffee, talking on the phone, sending him articles she thought he'd enjoy. They weren't dating. Not yet. But something was growing. Trust. Admiration. Quiet bond. Until one night something shifted. Emily was walking home when she passed a newsstand. A magazine cover caught her eye. The Return of Daniel Cross, the billionaire who faked his death? Her blood ran cold. She grabbed the magazine, flipped through pages filled with conspiracy, anonymous sources, and a photo. Her photo, taken as she walked out of Daniel's car. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. I need to see you. Tonight. It's urgent. Emily stood still on the sidewalk, heart racing. Something wasn't right. Had she gotten too close? Was he hiding more than he admitted? She thought she had rescued a broken man. But what if she had walked into something far more dangerous? Emily stood frozen in front of the glowing magazine rack, her fingers tightening around the tabloid with her photo printed beneath the headline. The girl behind the mystery billionaire, who is she? She had trusted him. She had believed every word. Her heart pounded as she turned away and headed straight home. She didn't reply to Daniel's message. Not yet. She needed to think. To breathe. But when she entered her apartment, her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a message. It was a video call request from Daniel. She stared at the screen, her reflection trembling in the glass. And then she tapped accept. His face appeared immediately, troubled, unshaven, pacing what looked like a penthouse suite. Emily, he said, his voice almost pleading, I didn't want you to find out like this. Then maybe you should have told me the truth, she said sharply. Did you fake your death? He looked away. Silence. Yes, he finally whispered. She felt the breath leave her lungs. Why? She asked, trying to hold her voice steady. Because I needed to disappear, he said. I needed them to believe I was gone so I could see who they really were. My board, my lawyers, my fiancé, everyone turned on me the second they thought I was dead. I wanted to see who would mourn me and who would move on. Emily sat down slowly, trying to process it all. You lied to the world. I had to. And me. He flinched. You were the only real thing I've had in years. I didn't plan to meet you. I didn't expect you. But when I was at my lowest, you were there. Not because I was someone, but because I was no one. That meant everything. She looked down. Do you regret helping me? He asked quietly. No, she said. But I don't know who you really are anymore. Daniel stepped closer to the camera. I'm the man who's still figuring out how to be human again. And I'm asking you not for forgiveness, but for a chance to prove it. There was a knock on her door. Emily tensed. Hold on. She opened the door cautiously, and there, standing in her hallway, was a well-dressed man with a suitcase and a simple envelope in hand. Delivery for Miss Carter, he said with a soft smile. She took the envelope, her fingers trembling, and opened it slowly. Inside was a legal deed to a townhouse on the Upper West Side. The note inside read, A place for you and your mom. No strings. No expectations. Just a thank you for saving my life when you didn't even know you were saving it. D. Emily covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Not out of greed, but out of disbelief. The man she'd met in the snow, the man with nothing, had just handed her everything. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, holding the envelope like it might disappear if she blinked too hard. The deed. The townhouse. A home. It was too much. Too fast. Too unbelievable. But at the same time, it felt like the universe's quiet way of saying you mattered. She looked around the tiny studio apartment she had shared with her mother for the past 3 years. The peeling walls, the flickering ceiling fan, the cracked tiles in the kitchenette. This was survival. But now they had a chance to live. That night, she finally called Daniel. I'm scared, she said honestly. I'm not used to things like this. I'm not used to trusting people who have everything. Daniel's voice was soft. Neither am I. I don't trust people easily either. But I trust you. There was a pause. I'm not offering you money, Emily. I'm offering you peace. A second chance for both of us. She took a shaky breath. Then let's take it. Slowly. 2 weeks later, Emily and her mom moved into the townhouse. It was warm, filled with light and quiet luxury. The fridge was stocked. The shelves were lined with books. And the guest bedroom was turned into a reading nook just for her mother. Emily enrolled full-time at NYU and kept her job part-time at the campus library. She didn't want to let go of normalcy just yet. Daniel respected that. He didn't overwhelm her. He showed up in quiet ways, bringing coffee during finals week, dropping off flowers on her birthday, inviting her and her mom for Sunday brunches at his penthouse where he cooked himself. No cameras, no press, just a man rediscovering who he was and a girl learning what it meant to be seen. Months passed. Emily watched Daniel slowly step back into the public world. He reclaimed his company, but this time on his own terms. He sold off half of it to start a foundation focused on education and housing for women and children in poverty. He credited Emily in every interview. But the world never knew the full story. Only they did. One evening, as they walked along the Hudson River, Daniel took her hand and smiled. You changed me, he said. Emily looked at him with a soft grin. No. You were always this man. You just needed someone to remind you. He paused, looked into her eyes. And I think I was always meant to find you on that street." She smiled through tears. Sometimes saving someone doesn't look like a grand act. Sometimes it's just a girl giving up her only hoodie on a freezing morning in Brooklyn. And in return, she finds a life she never even dared to dream of.